In the realm where mountains press their peaks against the clouds, where the air grows thin and the wind cuts like glass, there are creatures that seem forged from the very rock itself. Mountain goats. Perhaps too simple a name for animals that are anything but simple. They stand on edges that make the human stomach lurch, in places where one wrong step means a free fall into the void below. These animals run, leap, and sometimes even sleep. They have claimed the vertical world as their own and made it look effortless. This is not simply the story of an animal. This is the story of a year. 12 months on the highest stage on Earth. A story told in 4 acts. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. Each season a different world. Each season a different battle. High in the mountains, spring does not arrive gently. It arrives like a negotiation between the retreating cold and the tentative warmth, with no guarantee of outcome. The snowpack shifts. Rivulets form in crevices where none existed the week before. The first green shoots, impossibly brave, impossibly fragile, push through cracks in rock that has been frozen for months. And on a ledge so narrow it seems impossible, something extraordinary is happening. Birth. A female mountain goat, a nanny, stands with her newborn kid. The kid arrived into a world without margins. Within minutes, not hours, not days, it must stand. Within the hour, it must walk. Not on flat ground, on the mountain. Because on this ledge, stillness is not rest, it is risk. The mother chose this place deliberately, the highest, most inaccessible, most terrifying point she could reach. No wolf can get here, no bear, no coyote. The only way to reach this nursery is to be a mountain goat, and the only mountain goat here is her. For the first weeks, the kid never strays more than a few body lengths from its mother. It watches everything she does, where she places her feet, which rocks she avoids, how she reads the wind. Each nudge of her nose is a lesson. Each route she chooses is a curriculum. This is not simply parenting. This is the transfer of survival itself. And then, one day, with a confidence that looks reckless to human eyes, the kid begins to play. It leaps onto rocks. It misjudges distances and tumbles. It gets up and leaps again. This is not carelessness. This is practice. Every small fall in youth is a lesson learned in a body still close to the ground. The same fall at adulthood might be the last. Spring in the high country reveals the story of one of nature's most extraordinary families. Its members are scattered across the world's great mountain ranges, from the Alps of Europe to the peaks of Central Asia and North America. In the European Alps, the alpine ibex, with sweeping, ridged horns that can reach nearly a meter in length. By the 19th century, relentless hunting had driven this magnificent animal to the very edge of extinction. Fewer than 100 individuals remained on Earth. But through dedicated conservation efforts, their numbers have climbed back to over 50,000, one of the greatest wildlife recovery stories ever told. In the mountains of Central Asia, the markhor, whose name in Persian means snake eater, with horns that twist and spiral like two serpents coiled around each other, it is the national animal of Pakistan, and one of the most visually striking creatures on the planet. In North America, the Rocky Mountain goat, brilliant white against gray stone, navigates near vertical cliffs with the poise of a dancer. And in Iran and its neighboring highlands, the Persian wild goat, the pasang, watches over valleys that human eyes have barely ever seen. This ancient animal is believed to be one of the primary ancestors of every domestic goat alive today. Different ranges, different species, one family shaped by the same uncompromising teacher, the mountain. If spring is the act of beginnings, summer is the act of mastery. The mountain is now, briefly, generous. Snow has retreated to the highest shadows. Patches of alpine meadow, jewel green, impossibly lush, burst open between the rocks. For a few precious months, food is not the desperate calculation it will become in winter. It is almost abundant. And this is when the mountain goat reveals the full architecture of its extraordinary body. Look closely at their hooves. Two hard outer toes that grip like steel talons. A soft, rubbery inner pad that works like a suction cup. This deceptively simple structure is the result of millions of years of fine-tuning. The hard edges lock onto rock like the teeth of a wrench. The inner pad absorbs impact and creates adhesion. The result is the ability to stand, confidently, on a surface no larger than a coin. Their eyes are among the strangest features of any mammal. Rectangular pupils, an almost alien visual structure that grant them an almost 360-degree field of vision. While their heads are down grazing, they can still watch for threats approaching from behind. The mountain goat is never fully relaxed. It is never fully unguarded. Even in summer's relative abundance, the mountain demands constant vigilance. Grazing at altitude is not the pastoral image we might imagine. Vegetation is sparse, scattered in thin patches between vast stretches of bare rock. Mountain goats must cover enormous distances to find enough food. And yet, remarkably, they will sometimes scale sheer vertical faces, hundreds of meters high, simply to lick mineral salts from the rock, in places where no predator would dare follow. Because that is the mountain goat's greatest defense. Not speed, not aggression, not camouflage. Their greatest defense is going where nothing else can follow. A typical summer day begins before the sun clears the peaks. The mountain night is brutal, even in summer. Goats sleep huddled together, sharing body heat like embers in a dying fire. As the first gray light touches the ridgeline, they begin to move. Slowly at first, stiff joints loosening in the cold air, then faster. then with the casual confidence of animals completely at home in a place that would terrify any other creature. Their lungs, operating in thin mountain air, are remarkably efficient. Their blood carries more hemoglobin than lowland animals. Their red blood cells are specialists at extracting oxygen from air that would leave a human gasping. But even in summer, the mountain reveals its indifference to life. The mountain goat's most lethal enemy is not the wolf, not the eagle, not the snow leopard. It is the mountain itself. Avalanches strike even in summer, triggered by meltwaters saturating unstable snowfields. Rockfalls cascade without warning. Experienced goats have learned to read the mountain's moods, the particular crack of compressed snow, the subtle shift in wind that signals incoming danger. They move to safer ground before the danger arrives. Young goats have not yet learned these lessons. Statistics tell a grim story. Roughly half of all mountain goat kids do not survive their first year. Falls, freezing temperatures, starvation, predators. The mountain keeps its own accounting, and it collects. Summer is also the season of growth. The heavy winter coat has been shed, replaced by a shorter, lighter covering suited to the warmer months. The animals look almost sleek, almost domestic in their summer dress. But beneath that lighter coat, the same extraordinary body, the same impossible capability. The mountain goat does not struggle against the seasons. It transforms with them. Autumn arrives in the high country, not as a slow fade, but as a sudden announcement. The air sharpens almost overnight. The light turns from summer gold to the colder, thinner gold of the ending year. The meadows that were lush a month ago begin their long sleep. And something shifts, something electric, among the males. For months, the large males, the billies, have lived apart from the females and young. They have grazed in solitude, conserving their strength, building their mass. Now, as the mating season approaches, they begin to move toward one another. And the mountain braces for the spectacle that follows. The horns are the first thing you notice. In the alpine ibex, they sweep back in great ridged arcs, a monument to age and survival. In the markhor of Central Asia, they twist into a helix, coiling upward like a question asked to the sky. In the Persian wild goat of Iran, they curve in elegant scimitars. Each shape is not ornament. Each shape is history. The accumulated record of years survived, winters endured, battles won. To win breeding rights, a male must first prove his worth, and among mountain goats, the method of proof is direct dramatic, and ancient. Two males face each other across a rocky terrace. They measure the distance between them with absolute stillness. A stillness so complete it seems like the mountain itself is holding its breath. Then, with a speed that seems impossible for animals of their size, they charge. The collision of horns produces a sound like a rifle shot, a crack that echoes off the cliffs and can be heard kilometers away. The impact travels down through the reinforced skull, the shock-absorbing spine, into legs that brace like pillars. Then they reset, and charge again, and again, for hours sometimes. But make no mistake, this is contest, not carnage. Evolution has quietly built in safeguards. The horns curve in ways that direct force downward rather than inward. The skull is reinforced with bone far thicker than it appears. The spine is engineered to absorb repeated shock. The combat looks brutal. It is designed to look brutal. The animal that flinches first is the loser. When the contest finally ends, when one male turns and retreats, he is not destroyed. He is simply ranked. The mountain goat understands something that civilization had to learn the hard way. You need your rivals to remain strong, because the strength of the herd depends on all of them. After the battles, the mountain becomes quieter again. The winners move among the females. The young of spring are now half-grown, watching everything with wide amber eyes, storing lessons they will need when their own time of testing comes. The days shorten. The temperature drops by another degree each week. The fat built up over the generous months of summer begins to carry real weight. Not just biological weight, but existential weight. The mountain is preparing to collect its debt. Winter on the high mountain is not a season, it is a siege. It arrives without ceremony. One night the temperature drops past the point where wet becomes ice, and in the morning the world has changed. The green is gone, the rock is gone, buried. The familiar landscape of summer, the trails, the ledges, the salt-lick faces, has vanished beneath white. And now, the mountain goat reveals its final, perhaps greatest adaptation: the coat. In winter, the mountain goat wears something that no modern outdoor clothing brand has managed to fully replicate: a double-thickness fleece that insulates against temperatures of minus 40 degrees. The outer layer, long guard hairs, repels snow and rain with the efficiency of a waterproof shell. The inner layer traps body heat like a personal furnace. Beneath both layers, a compressed underfleece so dense that in some species, indigenous peoples historically harvested the shed fibers to weave some of the warmest textiles ever made by human hands. But even the finest coat cannot solve what winter truly takes: food. Grazing has become archaeology. The mountain goat uses its hard hooves to dig through packed snow, searching for the memory of summer. Dried grasses, buried lichen, the ghost of last season's growth. In the worst winters, they will strip bark from trees. They will eat moss scraped from rock faces. They will eat things that most animals would not consider food at all. Their metabolism slows. They move less, conserving the reserves that will carry them through until spring. Every movement is a calculation. Every calorie burned must be weighed against what is gained. The herds draw tighter. Animals that barely tolerated each other in summer now sleep pressed flank to flank. The old rivals from autumn's battles stand shoulder to shoulder against the wind. The mountain has a way of resolving differences. And in these hardest months, the kids of the previous spring face their defining test. They are no longer the small, wobbly creatures of their first weeks. They are juveniles now, half the size of adults, but carrying adult responsibilities. They must find food. They must endure cold. They must not fall. The ones who make it through their first winter have learned something no classroom could teach. They have learned that survival is not a talent, it is a practice. Day after day after day, hoof placement after hoof placement, choice after choice made correctly in conditions that do not forgive error. And then, so gradually at first that it seems like imagination, the light begins to change. A degree of warmth returns to the afternoon sun. A hairline crack appears in a frozen stream. The first bold shoot pushes through the snow at the edge of a southern-facing rock. Spring is coming. The siege is lifting. The mountain is preparing, once again, to be generous. And the mountain goats, the survivors, the endurers, the masters of the vertical world, lift their heads, smell the changing air, and begin to move upward. As they always have, as they always will. We have followed them through one full turn of the year, from the first impossible steps of a newborn kid on a spring ledge, through the fierce summer abundance and the autumn reckoning of hordes, into the white silence of a mountain winter, and back again to spring. What the mountain goat knows, and what we are only beginning to understand, is that resilience is not a gift, it is a discipline, earned one step at a time, on surfaces that do not forgive. In a world where we ride elevators to reach the top floor, the mountain goat climbs every single morning, because the mountain is there, and because they were made for it. On the edge of danger, on the edge of possibility, on the edge of the sky. They are not merely animals. They are a living argument for what is possible when the impossible becomes home. Yet the story of the mountain goat does not truly end here, because every mountain carries memories. The cliffs remember the hooves that crossed them. The valleys remember the calls that echoed through their stone walls. And generation after generation, mountain goats continue a journey far older than any human nation, older than any road, older than any map ever drawn. Long before humans climbed these peaks, mountain goats were already here. They watched glaciers advance. They watched glaciers retreat. They survived storms powerful enough to reshape entire mountainsides. And through it all, they endured. Today, however, a new challenge is appearing. The mountain itself is changing. Snow arrives later than it once did. Ice melts earlier. Ancient roots that remained frozen for centuries are beginning to transform. For animals whose lives depend on predictable seasons, even small changes can carry enormous consequences. Yet if there is one lesson written across every cliff and every hoofprint, it is this: adaptation is survival. The mountain goat has faced countless challenges before, and for thousands of years it has answered each one the same way: by climbing higher. There is something timeless about mountain goats. Perhaps it is because they live in places where time itself seems to move differently. On the valley floor, forests grow and disappear. Rivers change their course. Human settlements rise and fall. But high above, among the cliffs and frozen ridges, much remains unchanged. The same winds that brush across a mountain goat's coat today once swept across these peaks thousands of years ago. The same stars shine above them. The same mountains stand watch. For countless generations, mountain goats have followed paths invisible to human eyes. Ancient rites passed from mother to kid. Trails carved not by tools or roads, but by memory. A young goat may never have seen a particular ridge before, yet somehow it learns where safety lies, where shelter can be found, where danger waits. Knowledge travels through generations as surely as blood. And because of that knowledge, the story continues. Every spring brings new life. Every summer brings growth. Every autumn brings challenge. Every winter brings survival. The cycle repeats again and again. Not because life is easy here, but because life has learned how to endure. To most living creatures, the high mountain is a place to avoid, a realm of cold winds, thin air, and unforgiving stone, a place where survival seems almost impossible. Yet for mountain goats, these harsh heights are not a prison. They are a sanctuary. The cliffs that frighten predators become walls of protection. The steep slopes that challenge every step become pathways. What appears hostile to others becomes opportunity. Perhaps that is the mountain goat's greatest lesson. Strength is not always found in conquering the world around you. Sometimes strength comes from learning to belong within it. The mountain goat does not seek to change the mountain. It changes itself. Generation after generation, it adapts to the conditions it is given. And in doing so, it achieves something remarkable: harmony. A balance between animal and landscape that has endured for thousands of years. Few creatures on Earth are so perfectly connected to the world they inhabit. Every hoof, every muscle, every instinct, sheiked by the mountain. And in return, the mountain has become part of them. As evening falls across the mountains, shadows stretch across the valleys below. The wind grows quieter. The last light of day paints the peaks in gold. A small group of mountain goats stands high above the world, watching, waiting, enduring. Tomorrow they will climb again. Tomorrow they will search for food again. Tomorrow they will face the same cliffs, the same cold, the same risks. Not because they must, because this is who they are. Masters of the heights, children of stone and snow, living where few others can, thriving where most would fail. And as darkness settles over the mountain, their silhouettes remain against the fading sky. A reminder that life can flourish, even in the most unlikely places. And so, another year in the high mountains comes to an end. A land of stone, snow, and wind. A place where mountain goats fight for survival every single day, and where every step is a testament to the power of adaptation. If you've stayed with us all the way to the end of this journey, thank you. Your support makes it possible for us to continue creating documentaries and exploring the wonders of nature, wildlife, and the incredible world around us. And if you're new to AI.wow.26, welcome to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss any future adventures. My name is Mr. MK, and I truly appreciate you spending this time with me. Now, it's time for one last look at these magnificent mountains. Until our next adventure, stay curious, keep exploring, and never stop being amazed by the natural world.